So we just talked about how process cleanup in V.98 was Bruce's one-stop source for as many things as he can get control of that he was able to migrate into his space. But now he's realizing the power of one-stop resource, and he's also realizing how he can take control of his ability as a consumer to get to the bottom of all the software he's using and whether or not he really truly has control over the data and the processes and the content that he's creating, everything that's in those other data centers. And we've talked about how we're going to migrate all of those, all of those scattered data centers that represent Bruce and are an extension of Bruce and reel them into a single data warehouse that's going to be hosted in the Omniverse city and located at process cleanup address. So if you want to go and learn about what process is, what cleaning up your process is, what data is, what cleaning up your data is, or how you can work specifically with process cleanup to build a data warehouse so you can have one data warehouse, one place, one team, one time, and never again have to worry about monthly costs that are out of control or upsells. You can really just grow your business with your own vision, not using the vision of all the software and other data centers that you're using. How would you, first of all, Bruce, if there's anything about that that's wrong or not right, please correct me. And I'd love to hear what your takeaway is.
I think you nailed it. I think what we are going to now do is prove that it's possible. And so you and I and the Omniverse City are actually going to become the user case study to do that. And you're going to be able to see that journey as we migrate and integrate each tool to get to that point that you just described, Charlene. So let's do it.
Well, thank you. And I've been given a theory recently, Bruce, that I think you might resonate with as somebody who's seen a lot of the evolutions of the tools we have. And by when I'm talking about tools, I'm talking about like the internet. When the internet first came out, it was accessible to enterprise level companies. Those are the only ones that can afford to build the servers and systems required to run these websites. Then websites became more accessible to everyone through, WordPress. Then we had companies like Amazon building these giant commerce architecture. Then e-commerce became accessible to everyone and entrepreneurialism exploded. We had this little sputter of moment when Web3 and crypto and NFTs and AI and metaverse and everything became accessible to the public because Facebook was building it, Meta specifically was building it to make it accessible to everyone. And there's a theory that companies like Meta realized if they gave power to the world the way they did with social media, they might be giving too much power away, especially since AI was now providing them with a new level of power they'd never had before. So there's a theory that a lot of huge companies are slow playing their own development of the metaverse that's public facing while still building these giant architectures underground so that when they're ready, supposedly around 2030, they're going to be like this, almost like the Atlantis rising from the sea. You're going to see these sprawling digital cities come out of nowhere, and they're going to be like one way in and one way out. And you're going to have to, if all your friends are going there, you're going to have to follow them. But if you already have an established presence in these virtual worlds and you start to see people racing towards the guillotine, you could say, hey, wait a second, let me show you what this looks like without that level of control. And you can actually be one of the few places where people can see what it's like to build technology and the next generation of the future before the largest companies in the world display their version.
Yep. Yeah, we can be our own mini to massive version of that. But again, it's just simplifying how you use the utilities that we currently all have. But more importantly, it's about getting to that place where you can also save money, that you can reinvest that money into either further product development or even enhancing being a more advanced user, inside or outside of the domain, inside the city. So it's got multiple uses.
Well, I got to tell you, Bruce, I always have huge takeaways when we meet. I can't wait to really get process cleanup to a state of full launch because we've been in kind of this beta.
Mhm.
Actually, pre alpha is what we've been in for a long time. Alpha is actually V1, beta is V2. So it took us about a year and a half to get to alpha. It's probably going to take us about 60 days to get to beta. So it's going to be a
Mhm.
very fast progression. So I
Good.
wanted to, my goal on this call was to give you as much of an insight as possible without totally confusing you with TMI with too much information. How do you feel we did? Do you feel we achieved that kind of balance?
Yep. After I drank from the fire hose and digested a little water, we we got back to the basics, which is, the strategy's always been sound, which is around one place to visit, one place to, build community, offer products and services, play a little. But now we actually have the stepping stones mapped out to really start to do that. And we just need to become our own user case so we can show people it's not really that bad to go do it. So,
Love it. All right, I better let you run, but this was a
yeah.
great